Okay, now that we've added a billboarder and a sprite manager to our model, or sprite, we're going to start rigging up the actual states and some animations for our character. To begin with, well, okay, so the easiest thing to do is to kind of use the existing sprite sheet that I created for the knight, and to set this guy in the correct mode. So now that we have our billboarding set up, we're going to leave him for the default 8 direction. We're not going to give this guy a reflection mode. Reflection mode means that you can basically save the amount of sprite work that you have to do by either reflecting east to west or west to east. It'll just use the sprites from one side to reflect to the other. So mode, reflection mode, east to west, west to east. And then here are the actual states. So states are the various player, the character's actions. By default, a sprite manager starts with the idle state. And in the idle state, let's go ahead and rig up the idle state for our character. Right now, nothing is set, so it will always just use whatever, all it's doing now is billboarding, and we've, added that sprite to our sprite renderer, like a specific sprite. So for the north direction, we find our sprite sheet. We select our our sprite manager object, hit edit over here, which pops up this window. And now we can start dragging and dropping stuff. Now, if you click on the sprite, so don't just click and release the sprite, because then that will change the focus of the inspector. However, what we can also do is we can lock the inspector, and when we lock the inspector, it doesn't really matter what we click on, but we do have to end up clicking back on our guy to have this window show up. Okay, so click, drag, release, and northeast. Let's find the northeast direction, idle direction. It's this guy. Next is going to be east. There's east, southeast, southeast. There's southeast, south. There's south, southwest, west, northwest. Northwest. Okay, so now that we've set up all of the sprites, we can close that window, and we can always get back to that window anytime we click edit on the sprite manager states. Now when we rotate around this character, we see that he's using the correct directions. Now he will also start pointing into the correct directions as we move the character around the scene. So we've set up the idle state, but we haven't set up any of the other actions yet.